Light bulb. The light bulb was one of the most important technological steps in the late 19th century. Though Thomas Edison gets most of the credit, he wasn't the only one working on it. Dozens of inventors across the world, like Humphrey Davy and Joseph Swan, had already created earlier versions. Edison refined the concept. He used carbonized bamboo filament, built a reliable vacuum inside the bulb, and designed a full electrical system to power it. Introduced in 1879, his version could glow for over 1,000 hours. The light bulb became the symbol of modern civilization, bringing safe and steady light to homes and streets, extending work hours, and transforming how humans lived after dark. Telephone. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell created a device that would change communication forever. The telephone could transmit the human voice through electrical signals over a wire, allowing sound to travel instantly across long distances for the first time. The famous quote, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you," was spoken by Alexander to his assistant Thomas A. Watson on March 10, 1876, marking the first successful telephone call. Before this, people relied on written letters or messengers, which could take days or weeks to arrive. The invention quickly spread, shrinking distances between people and businesses across continents. Airplane. On December 17, 1903, brothers Orville and Wilbur Wright made the first powered, controlled, and sustained flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, when their Wright Flyer stayed airborne for 12 seconds, covering 120 feet. The Wrights' success came from years of experimentation with aerodynamics, lightweight materials, and a 3-axis control system, pitch, roll, and yaw, that let the pilot maintain true control of the aircraft. What began as a wooden machine with a small engine soon evolved into a global industry. The airplane transformed travel, warfare, and trade, connecting continents and making the world smaller than ever before. Automobile assembly line. In 1913, Henry Ford introduced the first moving conveyor belt assembly line in his automobile factories that allowed cars to be built piece by piece as they moved down the line. Instead of one worker building an entire car, each person specialized in a single task, dramatically increasing speed and efficiency. This innovation reduced the time to assemble a Model T from over 12 hours to about 90 minutes. It also made cars far cheaper, allowing ordinary Americans to afford them for the first time. The assembly line transformed the industry and set the model for mass production in the 20th century. Telegraph. Developed by Samuel Morse and Alfred Vail in the 1830s, the Morse telegraph was the first technology to send messages almost instantly over long distances. It used electrical pulses converted into dots and dashes known as Morse code. The first message, "What hath God wrought," was sent in 1844 from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, therefore laying the foundation for all modern communication networks. Cotton gin. Invented in 1793 by Eli Whitney, the cotton gin transformed the American cotton industry. It was a simple hand-cranked machine that quickly separated cotton fibers from their seeds, a task that previously took hours by hand. This invention made cotton production far more efficient and profitable, helping the U.S. become a global supplier of textile material. However, by making cotton farming more profitable, it greatly increased the demand for enslaved labor in the American South. Sewing machine. In 1846, Elias Howe patented a design that used a needle with an eye near the point, allowing thread to loop and stitch fabric automatically. A few years later, Isaac Singer improved the design and made it practical for mass production and home use. The sewing machine drastically reduced the time needed to make clothing and helped launch the modern textile industry. It made fashion more accessible, boosted industrial employment, and marked one of the earliest steps toward automated manufacturing. Phonograph. The phonograph was the first device capable of recording and reproducing sound. Invented by Thomas Edison in 1877, it worked by etching sound vibrations onto a rotating cylinder wrapped in tinfoil. When played back, a needle traced those grooves and recreated the recorded sound. Edison's early recordings were simple voices and short messages, but the invention quickly evolved into a tool for music and entertainment. The phonograph paved the way for record players, radio, and the entire modern music industry, making sound something that could be stored, shared, and replayed. Television. Early experiments of the television began in the 1920s, but it was American inventor Philo Farnsworth who demonstrated the first fully electronic TV system in 1927. His invention converted moving images into electrical signals that could be transmitted and displayed on a screen. By the late 1940s, television had spread rapidly across the United States, becoming a centerpiece of home life. It transformed how people received news, entertainment, and advertising, shaping culture and politics in the 20th century more than almost any other technology. Atomic bomb. The atomic bomb was developed during World War II under the U.S. government's top-secret Manhattan Project. Led by scientists like J. Robert Oppenheimer, it harnessed the immense energy released by splitting atoms of uranium or plutonium. The first test, codenamed Trinity, occurred on July 16, 1945, near Alamogordo, New Mexico, proving the weapon's devastating power. Weeks later, atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading to Japan's surrender and the end of the war. Microwave oven. The microwave oven was invented accidentally in 1945 by engineer Percy Spencer while working with radar equipment. He noticed that a candy bar in his pocket had melted near an active magnetron, a device that emits microwaves. Curious, he tested the effect on popcorn and later on an egg, which exploded, confirming the power of microwave energy to heat food quickly. Spencer's discovery led to the first commercial microwave oven, which eventually became a common household appliance by the 1970s. Personal computer. The personal computer, or PC, brought computing power into people's homes. Unlike early computers from World War II that filled entire rooms and required teams of operators, PCs were compact, affordable, and simple enough for anyone to use. In the 1970s, early models like the Altair 8800 and Apple II proved that computers could be small and affordable. By the 1980s, companies like IBM and Microsoft standardized the market, making PCs a household essential. Internet. The Internet began as a U.S. government research project called ARPANET in the late 1960s, designed to let computers share information over long distances. It connected universities and research centers before expanding into a global network. The creation of the World Wide Web by Tim Berners-Lee in 1989 made the Internet accessible to ordinary users through browsers and hyperlinks. By the 1990s, it had become a central part of communication, business, and entertainment. Mobile phone. On April 3, 1973, Motorola engineer Martin Cooper made the first handheld mobile call, using a device that weighed nearly 2 pounds and offered just 30 minutes of talk time. Over the following decades, advances in microchips, batteries, and networks made phones smaller, cheaper, and more reliable. By the 2000s, mobile phones had evolved into smartphones, combining computing, internet access, and cameras in one device. GPS. The Global Positioning System, or GPS, was developed by the U.S. Department of Defense in the 1970s to provide precise location data for military navigation. It works through a network of satellites orbiting Earth, which send timed signals that receivers use to calculate exact positions anywhere on the planet. In the 1980s, GPS was opened for civilian use, leading to its adoption in cars, ships, airplanes, and eventually smartphones. If you liked this video, make sure to watch these two and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next.